Hi, everyone. I'm Bridget Peeples, and today I have Monty Pureheart with me. He is an American spiritualist, and I have the pleasure of meeting him about 15 years ago at a Mind, Body, Spirit Expo in Portland, Oregon. At the time, I was there with a couple friends, and as we were walking through the convention and just looking at the different booths, we come across Monty, and he points at me and says, "I need a hug." And of course, back then I didn't hug people, especially strange men with beards. And my friends were more than willing to hug him. So they give him a hug, they melt like butter. And I thought, well, that's strange. And he still wanted a hug. And I was like, no. So we kind of walked around a while and we come back by his booth. And sure enough, he's pointing me out again and needs a hug. So I finally agree. Well, what Monty didn't know is I had a back injury that I'd been dealing with for months. So I really didn't want anyone touching me. And it always felt like I was ripped in half from the waist. So Monty, I agreed to give him a hug. He lifts me up and I can feel my back. It feels like, again, I'm being ripped in half. He swings me and just kind of does one of these, and instantly my pain was gone. After 9 months of suffering, just like that. How he knew, you will hear. Thank you so much for joining me, Monty. Do you remember that interaction with me?
I remember some of it. I see
Yeah.
many people over many years.
Yes, you do.
I'm very blessed to be present during the performing of many miracles.
Yeah.
And you were just one of them.
Oh, absolutely. I had been through physical therapy, chiropractors, PTOT. Nothing helped. It literally was a saving grace because I was in so much incredible pain, and it literally was gone in a moment, just like that. And you
that
smiled
very
at
frequently.
me. Yeah, and you smiled at me and you said, "All better."
Yep.
Now I'm looking up at you. So it was great. And with the internet back then, I didn't use it very often, but I tried locating you, after that, because I wanted to, try to stay in touch or try to learn more or go see you the next time I had a problem, because I wasn't sure where you were. So I'm so grateful that I ran into you again at other spiritual events over the years. So thank you so much. But I would love for you to share, Monty, with us how this came to be, your amazing gifts.
Well, it depends on how far back you want me to start.
Well, let's go with the original awakening and we can zoom through if you want.
Okay, well, I was going back much farther than that.
Oh, wherever you want to start.
Yeah, well, one of the gifts I've been given is the ability to very clearly and evidently fairly accurately see past lives, my own and others. And I understand that I have done what I do today in many lifetimes.
I believe that.
Yeah, in this lifetime, the person I was before my 42nd birthday, I lump him all together and describe him as a loud-mouthed, arrogant, male chauvinist pig jerk.
A lot of men could describe with that.
Yeah. And I was awakened I grew up in a family that was reasonably spiritual. We used to do automatic writing sitting around the family table and that sort of thing, but I wasn't super interested in it. And I died for the first time when I was 25 years old. I think it was 25, 22, something like that. I was in a car wreck and had my sternum broken in half and the top half bounced off my backbone and locked in behind the bottom half, and
blow that one off.
Yeah, I had some very interesting experiences. I've died a total of 5 times, more or less. I've died often enough that I classify them as major deaths and minor deaths. So yes. that was my major death, and I've had 4 minor deaths. I call them upgrades.
It's a little boost we need.
yeah. Luckily, it's been. I think the last time I died was 1997.
Wow.
So
what happened?
What happened then?
Yeah.
I had a benign duodenal tumor that I'd had since I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
that was had been leaking blood into my intestines all that time, and it
Oh,
decided to
wow.
rupture. And
Yes.
so I bled out, and my wife was in the kitchen baking Christmas cookies, and I just the second that I knew what was realized that something was drastically wrong, I called her. She says, "My hands are dirty," and then I was gone. And when I didn't say anything back, she came in and checked and found that I had stopped breathing and had swallowed my tongue and
Oh
all
my
that stuff.
goodness.
So
Your
anyway,
poor wife. That would be how terrifying for her. All these
yeah,
experiences, you know? Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Well, she saved my life twice since we've been together. We've been together almost 33 years now. So
That's
yeah,
how long my husband and I have been together. Just about
yeah,
33 years. Yeah.
yeah. Pretty cool, isn't it?
It is. It's very cool. That's something else we have in
So,
common.
but anyway, yeah, my first major death, the one that changed my life more than any other. I was about 22 years old. That was in a previous wife. Uh, I was 22 years old, living in San Diego, and I was working night shift, and I was coming home from work, and I had to drive over a bridge that went over I-5, and uh, a undocumented, uninsured alien from Mexico uh, came up off the freeway and turned left right in front of me and caught the front of my car right in front of me. And even though I was wearing my seatbelt at the time, he hit me so hard, my head went through the windshield. I broke the ring off the steering wheel with my chin. My sternum was crushed, it was shattered. All of my ribs were broken loose from my sternum.
My
Um,
goodness.
and I was conscious just long enough to think, oh, well, this is it. I reached up, and here's this big hole in my chest, and I realized I was passing out quickly, so I undid my seatbelt so they could get my body out easily, and I got my wallet out and laid it out on my legs so that they could get my ID, and the
Oh my gosh.
next thing I know, I'm floating over my own body in the local. Luckily, it was real close to the local VA hospital,
Oh,
so they
nice.
got me to the VA hospital, and I'm laying there on the bed looking, or my body's laying on the bed. I'm looking down at me, and there's some doctors there, and they're saying, "Well, has anybody called his wife? Somebody better call his wife." Yeah, just tell her she was in a minor accident because we don't need anybody else having an accident. And
Yeah.
and then I returned back into my body. And, oh, he's alive. So then they decided they were going to send me down for X-rays, and I guess they were short-staffed or something. So here I am with a flailed chest, caved in, and they had these
Well,
two guys that lifted me kind of clumsily onto a gurney. When we got down to the X-ray room, they couldn't lift me out, so they rolled me onto the table. And I thought, well, I'm gone now. So, but
right. Oh
anyway,
my God.
yeah.
Horrible.
But during that time, I also went through the famed tunnel of light,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it was instantaneous on this side of the fence, but it was an extended period of time on the other side. And you talk about the tunnel of light, and people say they see their relatives in it. So the only thing I saw was brilliant light on the walls, and the far side, at the far end, was a portal, and the portal was as much brighter from the walls as the walls were from here. I
Wow.
mean, it was incandescent. I mean, human eyes couldn't tolerate it. There
Oh
was
my
only one
gosh.
place I wanted to be, and that was on the other side of that. And in an instant, I stepped through.
Wow.
And I'm liable to get emotional here because even after
Okay.
50 years later, it still was so moving. But
Wow.
I found myself in what I can only describe as a garden beyond description.
Yeah.
And every flower, every butterfly, every bird, the earth itself, the sky, everything was made of pure light, and that light was pure
Okay.
love.
Yeah.
And one of my first observations was there are no shadows, because if everything is made of light,
Yeah.
there are no shadows. And the corollary to that I also realized in that same instant is that darkness in all of its forms only serves to give us the illusion of being separated.
Oh, interesting.
Well, after spending what seemed like 10 minutes just in wonder, and awareness just kept flooding in, flooding in, flooding in. I look up, and at the time I died, I was an agnostic. I knew that there was a God somewhere, but he'd never showed himself, himself or herself itself to me. And I look up, and coming toward me through the garden was a bearded man in a robe that I knew to be the one that Earthlings called the Christ.
Yeah.
And in one of the most moving experiences I've ever had, he came to me and we embraced. And when it was finally time to step back, he's holding me by the shoulders. He looked me in the eye. There's a tear coming down. He says, "Welcome home, brother.
Oh.
You have a choice. You can stay here or you can go back and help the children."
Ah.
And at the time, I didn't have any of my own children. I thought that's what he meant, but it wasn't what he meant at all.
No.
But
We
we've
find
stayed
that
in
out years
touch.
later.
I'm very much not a Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not anything.
Yeah.
As the Dalai Lama says, my religion is love.
Oh, I like that.
And well, I think that's what Christ would have had us do too.
And I have to say, knowing you, and from the first time I've met you, I would agree with that statement for sure. You're one of the purest people I know.
It's a work in progress.
Always.
Yeah, I've been looking at that real closely in the last couple of weeks, looking at my perception of me versus the input that I get from the people around me, and thinking that perhaps I'm a little too hard on myself. But I'm sure nobody else is like that. But what I try to do is I try to observe my actions and my thoughts in every moment, and not criticize, but see where I could improve.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant thing.
It's a little hard some days for that, but I understand that. I try that too.
Yeah, one of the first, in fact, the first vision that I had after my awakening was I was shown an English greatsword. They're about 5 feet long. It's what the knights used to use in battle, back in the 1200s or whatever. And the knight was about 5'2". I mean, that was the average height of a person, and the swords were about 5 feet long. They were two-handed swords. But I was shown this sword in my vision, and the sword was turned up on edge, and I was placed right where the blade began, and my job was to walk that razor's edge. And if I misstepped, I would fall off and I wouldn't get back on in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And the further I've walked along that edge, the broader that edge has become, to the point where it would take quite a bit of work for me now to fall off. But still, my focus is walking that razor's edge and staying true to my purpose and my goal.
And again, it is for a lot of us, a daily struggle.
Yeah.
I think that even for myself, I'm a very positive person 90% of the time, I will say, because unfortunately, as an empath, and you probably get this too, I pick up other people's emotions and fears and the negativity. And I have to remind myself to go snap out of it. It's not you, it's them, or if I go to a certain grocery store, I could be completely fine. And then all of a sudden I could feel it building, and I'm just like, and then instantly it's like, okay, who's stepping into my space, because I really prefer to be in that positive energy field, and looking at the greater good of everyone and trying to have compassion for where someone is in their walk. And that's one of the reasons for this channel, was to educate those that want to be educated, on empowering themselves to live each day, or try to be the best they can be for them, not for anyone else, but for their own personal growth, their own inner peace.
Right.
And so, and walking that, it is hard. And I know that no matter, we're still here, we're still human, and we have that human experience. But I think it's wonderful, just all the experiences you've had, because you're older and you've had more life experience than I have, and truly incredible things that you have done. So I'm just grateful.
Oh, yeah, there are so many stories that I don't tell, that I can't tell, because
Right.
I was there. I know they happened. I know they're true, but other people would never believe them.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
regarding what you speak of, for the last several years, I've been really aware that one of my jobs is to help people carry their burdens and process their stuff, even if I don't know who it is. And quite frequently, my wife and I will be sitting and watching TV or talking or whatever, and I'll get this tremendous wave of sadness or tremendous anger or something like that. And I'll just tell her, I've got this coming in. I'm dealing with this right now. So if some of it splashes over on you, I'm real sorry, and I'm trying to keep it balanced here. And there are times it get to it. If I chose to perceive it as a burden, it could be seen as quite a burden. I choose to see it as an opportunity to help others, and so I just deal with it.
Yeah. And that's what I want. That's, I think, the shift that I needed to hear is looking at it as an opportunity to help them and change that energy for them. So that's very helpful for me, and great advice for any of us that work with that, and, picking up other people's stuff, even if we don't know them. Do you find that when you're like out shopping with you and your wife, or just out by yourself, you walk past somebody and you get that intensive energy of them that just steps into your space?
Sometimes, I mean, I don't even have to be close to them. It can be somebody that lives 3 states or 3 countries away. And if we have any kind of connection at all, and they get into a distressed situation, it just automatically, it rings my number.
Yeah.
And
do you know
so,
who they are? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you know
many times I'm able to pinpoint who it is, and sometimes I'll send them a text and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I know it's kind of, I do that with kids, with my children, and you might with yours. Whenever our kids are distressed, I call it the bat signal, kind of joking. There's that big mom in the sky, the big M letter, and I'll call them and I'm like, is something going on? Oh no. I'm like, it's me you're talking to. Okay, then it's like, not only not your mom, but hello, and they just kind of go, okay. So they'll kind of share, and I'll say, it's okay if it's private, no problem. I don't need to know what it is. Just let me send you some positive, whatever you need from me energetically, and I'll send it your way. That's just what I have to do, because I don't need to look at their stuff. I don't. They're adults.
In my spiritual growth, I've had no earthly teachers. My teachers are ascended masters, and one of the greatest bits of advice that I've gotten, and it's one of the cornerstones of my life, I was told, be love, all else is commentary.
Yeah. And in an ego world, right? Because we're in an ego world, I think, at times, definitely at times. How are you able to walk that path, knowing that there's so many people that come from ego?
I walk my path and I let them walk their path. And my job is not to change them, but to show them what change looks like and let them make their own decision.
See, that's beautiful, because it's true. They're going to walk their path. I do believe, and I'm not sure if you do. Do you believe that we all have basically our lives, the certain lessons that we want to learn, that we come in with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you say that all of it is pre-written, or because I believe there's free will all along the way, kind of like a fork, would you say it's more like that? Because some people will challenge me, and that's why I love talking to someone like yourself, because you have, like I said, this infinite wisdom and all the different layers that you look at, for an easier way to put it. Would you say that's accurate, or what is your thought on that?
I went through this questioning myself and with my teachers.
Okay.
And I was shown that we have infinite choice within a finite set of choices.
Okay.
So I mean, we're on planet Earth, we're not on Jupiter, so that there's a lot of choices we don't have. So within the choices that we have made to be, in my case, a white Caucasian male, of rotund build, there are certain things that I can and can't reasonably expect to achieve, and but I still have an infinite set of things to choose from, but within a very finite choice group.
Yes, I understand that. Okay. That's kind of cool. Yes, that's kind of what I think that's how I try to describe it. I just say, it's like come to this fork in the road. This has this set of possibilities. This has this set. This has this set. And depending on which choose, there's another fork at that road. So there's always these infinite opportunities, I guess, for learning. Yes.
Yeah, Spirit explained to me that there are long paths and there are short paths, and there are difficult paths and there are easy paths, and there are light paths and there are dark paths. And what I am trying to seek is the shortest path of greatest light.
Oh, I love that. That's a path I want. Right? That is the path. Oh my gosh. I love that. And then what type of work are you doing now? Like what type of clients do you work with?
Anybody Spirit brings to me is somebody that I am to work with.
Okay. So regardless of the challenge, you don't specialize in any one field.
I don't know. I do whatever's necessary, because I understand that if it's brought to me, it's something that I should work with. And I don't expect miracles, but I'm never surprised when they happen, because they happen a lot more frequently than not. Several years back, I met a young woman. I'm a lapidary. I cut rocks and make jewelry and so forth. And so we have rock shows locally, and my wife and I set up this booth with 23 feet of beautiful rocks on it. And a lady walked up with her two young preteen daughters, and I could tell something was wrong in her body. And I said, what's going on? And she came over and whispered in my ear that she was dying of advanced liver disease.
Oh.
And she didn't want her kids to know that she was dying.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm a healer. I can't guarantee anything, but if you will allow and she had grown up in a Jehovah's Witnesses group or something like that. So she was real antsy about it. I said, my only tool is divine love. Yeah. And she says, well, okay. And I just kind of waved my hands in the air and sent some energy her way. She said her liver got real hot, and and that was it. And they left. And about 3 days later, we accidentally bumped into each other again. And she had been to her doctor, and her liver tests were all normal.
Isn't that incredible?
And her liver disease is gone.
Oh,
instantly,
that is
totally. And she became one of my students, and she's kind of following a path of yoga now. She's in the process of becoming a yoga teacher.
That is so beautiful. That is just incredibly beautiful. I know you have that ability to heal, and I know that. And I also know that we still have that experience. Some of us, even with the healing, the ones that are meant to continue on in this lifetime, in this journey, will, and they definitely come to you. And I know that your healing abilities are just, I can't even describe them. There's definitely a
pretty good.
Yeah. They do. They're incredible. And I'm just like, I need to come see you in person again. I think it's just gonna make over.
I tell people that the healing is the least important thing that I do.
Really?
Yes, because, well, if all things are in divine order, so is disease, so is infirmity, and so forth and so on. But if somebody comes to me that has never heard of metaphysical stuff or never heard of, didn't believe in any of this nonsense and all that. And I instantly cure their cancer or their liver disease, or if they've got a broken bone and I heal the broken bone for them, it gets their attention.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does.
Like it did yours.
Yes, it got my attention. I was already on my path, and I don't think at the time, I'm trying to think, it's been so long, our first interaction, it's been a very long time. And I'm just trying to think, because we had I always felt intuitive, I've been a little medium or a little psychic since I was a child, but not really realizing it until, adulthood, because I was always, one of these by the parents. And I remember where my husband would joke and call it bula bula and all that woo woo stuff, and I needed a sign because I wanted to do hypnosis. I wanted to study hypnosis. My pastor, he's a spiritualist pastor, says you're not intuitive enough. And I was like, what? And I'm like, and again, I didn't even realize just how many predictions and things over the years since childhood, were accurate, but I never really gave it much thought more than that, until Christ conscious at 33. And it's just a powerful number, that 33. And I remember asking for a sign to, and my husband needed it too, because I was like, am I going crazy? Because, when you first open up and these things are happening, you really do think you're nuts.
Oh, I went through that for years. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was crazy. And I thought for sure my husband would leave me, and then how am I going to take care of 4 kids by myself, and that kind of stuff. But I was like, I need a sign. And my husband was like, yeah, give her a sign. We got to see, And of course, the sign came through him. It was a massive car accident.
Yeah.
Him and the driver that hit him, my husband was in a semi, the other person was in a white pickup. And I felt the accident. I could feel the impact for 10 days. And I thought I was going crazy, because when you feel that, every time I turn around and stop at the light, I'm like, did they hit me? And the kids would say, you're crazy, Mom. And then, but I kept seeing the semi in a white truck. What I've learned over the years, and you probably have too, with when things reflect on when it's going to happen to you, or you're meant to have this experience, they didn't show me. I knew there was a semi and a white pickup, but they didn't show me that the semi was my husband's, that he was driving, and the white pickup. So spirit will have me have this, blinders on, so to speak. And I kept seeing this, and I says, the 10th, going back 10 days, as it was right after our anniversary, bunch of people in the vehicle, and I felt it driving home, and I'm like, someone's going to be in a bad wreck. And my husband's like, who? I'm like, I don't know. It's a guy in a white truck and a semi. And he's like, well, none of us have a white truck. Both of us missed the semi.
Yeah.
And until the accident happened. And that morning, I normally would have been on the phone with him. And that's when cell phones were first coming out,
Right.
And so I normally would be on the phone with him, but that morning, spirit literally guided me to all these strangers I had never met before, but we stopped in the store and have a conversation with this person and one with this. And then I get this, it's okay to go home. So, well, nice meeting you, and I've never met that person, but we both thought we knew each other and had literally a 10-minute conversation. I get home and I got the youngest in tow. And I said, I look at the phone, because back then it was caller ID, and that's weird. I thought I heard the phone ring when I put the key in the door. No, but the phone rang in my hand as my husband. I've been in an accident. And of course, being a smart aleck back then, I was like, and, So he's telling me a white pickup T-boned his semi at 55 miles an hour. The guy in the truck was doing 65. Brian was doing 55. Nobody died. I said a prayer an hour earlier with my pastor, my other pastor, because there was 2 at the church, and we said it. And he says, let's say a prayer for Brian and the guy in the white truck. And of course, my husband's name just eluded me at that time. So when the accident happened, it was a massive impact, and the man in the white pickup, even though his vehicle disintegrated on impact, he only had seatbelt burns. Neither one of them were injured. And ODOT came out and thought for sure it was going to be a fatality.
Yeah.
And no. So that was kind of our aha moments. And you've had several of those aha moments.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
quite a few.
What is your most memorable, I think, that sticks with you the most?
Oh boy. It's I live so much in the now that I really have trouble remembering a lot of the past.
That's
But
true. That's right.
I will say that it's not unusual at all for me to develop an ache or a pain or something in my body anywhere from 2 days to 3 weeks before I meet the person who's got that issue. And
Oh,
once I fix theirs, mine goes away.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And it's got to be, it's good that you recognize that. I have, as the empathic side of me, I can feel that with people too. And unfortunately, it's like, what's mine, what's theirs? Do you
Mhm.
have, how long did it take you to realize that it wasn't yours?
Not very long, not very
Not
long,
very
because
long.
I've spent a lot of time getting very much in tune with my body at a very deep level. It's one of my major tools for diagnosis is because
Yeah.
if we're all one
Yeah.
and that's my body standing there, perhaps female, whatever, but I can feel in my body a representation of what's going wrong in theirs, and I work on it a lot of times in my body. And when I release it and relieve it in my body, they are healed. And that
Um,
way I don't invade them. I allow
yeah.
them to be perceived within me.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. That is such an incredible, generous, selfless act.
It,
Truly.
it just seems, I mean, it's just natural for me.
Exactly. That's it. It's natural for you. Just like I think as both being mediums, and those of us that can have those connections, it's so natural. I mean, I always thought everyone had the ability to do that, growing up.
Everybody does, but
They do.
we've all been trained that it's evil, that it's wrong, that
Yes.
it's work of Satan,
Yeah.
it's anything to keep us down. Everybody can
Yes.
do everything I do and more. And that's my goal in
Yes.
life, is to show people who they really are.
Yeah, and you're right, that is true. I tell people this all the time, every one of us is gifted. God
Absolutely.
wouldn't have sent us here without our amazing abilities to survive
Yeah,
and have these incredible
mankind
gifts
has
of healing.
taken it away to preserve the
Yes,
power structure.
that's exactly it. Yes. And I think that's the biggest fear, that power structure is afraid that we're all going to be able to
Or if
heal
we wake up, they're
ourselves.
in trouble.
That's right. That's right. And we are starting to wake up. I think a lot of
And I'm
people.
an alarm clock.
Uh-huh. Yep, yep, exactly. And it's just there are more people waking up to what's really going on. And unlike you, I don't see a lot of dimensions. I've only had a one-time experience seeing another dimension. It is hard for the analytical brain of Bridget to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But if you were to talk, because I know we talked a little bit the other day, dimensions, right? And
Mhm.
how that looks, how many dimensions are there? So they want me to change course is what they're saying. Talk about dimensions. I'm like, okay, hold on. I got someone over here chiming in my ear. I don't know who they are.
I'm in the process of writing another book right now, and I'm answering your question. And
Okay.
it's called Soul's Sojourn, and it's a story of this soul's travel through time and space,
Okay.
and meeting many versions of itself and actually educating one of them. Uh, but the beginning part of the book says, in a truly infinite universe, not only is everything possible, but everything possible has already happened an infinite number of times. So that's how many dimensions there are.
My God, I couldn't imagine. See, my
You're
brain
not, no,
can't wrap around.
you're not, it's not a logic thing.
No, it's not.
I have an extremely high level of logical thinking and an
Yeah.
extremely high IQ. And neither one of those have anything to do with what I do with my
No,
spiritual work.
no. I agree. I think that like you, the high IQ, I got someone here that's a psychic. Like, knock it off. Sorry, they're making me digress a little bit. It's like, go away, go away. And I know you see them too. It's like, okay, stop.
No, I'm perceiving them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't know who it's a female. I don't know who she is, but she's like
Yeah.
trying to climb in here. And they're
They're trying to
literally
help you
taking
with
my
your interview. They're
They
trying to
are,
correct us.
and they're
Yeah.
literally wiping my brain. Like, it's like, stop
Yeah.
it! I'm trying to have a conversation. You know,
Yeah.
sorry. They're like totally doing this to me. Oh, it's like, stop.
Oh,
But
we're like that. We're like that here at home. It's never just the two of us, even when it's just the two of us. You know, there's always dead people coming in and saying hi and putting their 2 cents in worth, you know, and some of them are relatives,
she
some of
feels
them are
like your mom, actually.
uh,
It feels like your mother who's coming here, and it's like,
well, she's not very welcome in my life.
that's probably why she's coming through me. But it definitely is a mother. It's interesting though, very interesting. Yeah, and that's okay too. She's literally shutting down my train of thought. It's like,
Yeah,
wanting
yeah,
to
she,
go here.
yeah. Well, let's just push
Let's set her
forward.
off.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah,
Go. Yeah, it's like, just go.
that's better.
Okay, better. All right. Sometimes they will try to hijack my conversations,
Yeah, well,
and it's interesting.
she's real. She was very, very pushy and very self-centered. So we don't
Yeah.
need her here.
So you know what that's about then. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So now we can move on. Yeah. So the different dimensional stuff, you're right. A lot of analytical thinking, or a lot of us, it's so hard to fathom, just like people with the work we do. And now I'm a true believer of your healing gifts and abilities because I've been healed. So I know, you know, if someone were to say, oh, this person isn't this, I would say, no, actually he is. And I know this, you know, because I have experienced it. Had I not experienced, it's just like some of the work you and I do with people that are not awake yet, you know, and they have that experience. What is the most profound awakening you've had for somebody else, where they, beside from the woman with the cancer, that had just been blown away and in total shock, and it's now gotten them on this path, besides her, the one woman that you've referred earlier?
Yeah. I'd say that right now, yeah, you know, I teach whoever comes to me and is willing to be taught. And like I told this person, I love free range students. They can come and go as they please. You know, I'm not trying to lock anybody in. But
Yeah, no.
there's a young woman that I am fairly convinced is also the same soul, and the next one in the timeline. And all of this life since I awakened, I thought how wonderful it would have been to have a teacher to help me
Yeah.
with their experience when I was much younger. And she's fairly into her 30s. And we met at a we called it Third Thursday, and psychics and healers would go in and they'd donate a couple hours, and anybody that wanted to come and talk would come and talk and or be healed or whatever. And she came in. I'd never seen her before. She came in and we talked for the solid 2 hours, and really didn't want to break the spell, but everybody had to go home. So
Yeah.
she left, and then she moved back east for about 2 years, and she came back out. The first thing she did was to book a session with me.
Oh.
And we talked, and she's become a student. She's become the best student I've ever had. She is truly a joy to teach.
Oh.
And now she's becoming a counselor for her family. Her father's dying, and she's supporting the family through that with her new understandings. And you know,
yeah,
it's hard. You know, yeah.
It is. It's hard. People don't understand. We've recently lost a few family members. And even though the work that I do, and my kids understand it because they're like me, you know, my husband, unfortunately, he's lost, you know, grandpa, his mother, his grandmother, close to all of them, and doesn't understand the death. And it breaks my heart because I know they're still with us. I know they're still alive in, in this other place. And it's so hard for someone like him, even though he's been with me 33 years, to wrap his brain around this.
Yeah.
You know, and every now and then I'm like, I wish he could have just one time where he would actually see them, you know, and feel that, you know, but he just doesn't. And so I'm sure I'm his teacher one of my hardest students ever is my husband, but I have to just hold that compassion for him. But it is very hard when somebody doesn't understand.
Oh, absolutely. I understand that.
Yeah. It's
Luckily,
very difficult.
my wife has been my best supporter, and she's a real good teacher simply because she is who she is.
Yeah.
It's my belief that we've been together many, many lifetimes, and that she is fully capable of being the lead person like I am in this lifetime. And it would, next time perhaps she'll be lead and I'll be support.
Exactly. Oh, he definitely supports everything I do, and he grounds me as well. He
Yeah.
just is not able to wrap his brain around that there's life after death.
Yeah.
Even though he's seen me and watched my work with complete strangers on the street in Vegas, on the strip, where like your mom popped in looking for that opportunity to push her way through, where they do that to me, and he's experienced it numerous times to where he knows it's valid, he does, but he still doesn't. I think his sadness that he doesn't get to see them, it makes it a little hard. So for that, I wish he was able to do that, but it's not what he's meant to do in this lifetime. And I understand that. It's hard.
I'm not sure how your perception works, but when I see something or hear something, I describe it as though you had just had a really vivid daydream, and you have all the memories, and it happened, but it's gone now, but it's still there. So I don't actually physically see things, but I see them in great detail, but not with my eyes.
Right. Yes, I have that experience.
And sometimes the nomenclature or the words we use can be confusing to people because they think that we actually physically see something or physically hear something, rather than it's not a matter of seeing or hearing, it's a matter of knowing.
Absolutely. It's a knowing. I've said that, yes, from day one with people, it's a knowing. They're like, how do you know? And I'm like, I can't describe it. I can't explain it. Like at the funeral, grandma just passed. I see her. I know she's at the front of the casket, tapping her fingers on the casket, like, come on already. Let's move along. Let's just get out of here. She didn't want nobody there. And I'm just like, and I'm trying not to smile because everybody's crying, and I'm like trying to get tears. Like, please make me cry, grandma, and it's his grandma. And then I see her and her husband dancing. They play the old rugged cross, and I'm watching them dancing and tootling around, and I'm just sitting there trying really hard to keep a straight face and looking sad because I have to for everybody else, but my kids of course are watching me because they know and they're seeing it, but they're not going to say anything, and they're thinking, keep it together, mom, don't smirk, and I'm just like, woo. But yeah, I see it like you. It's that knowing, it's images, it's flashes, it's like vivid dreams as I'm awake. And the best way I describe it, I think, for people is it's like a stop sign. You see the stop sign and you don't have to see it. You visually can see it because you've seen it so many times for people. That you just know what it is. You come to an image, it doesn't have to say stop. It's the shape, or the color. And instantly what it is, whatever language it's in, what it means. It's that knowing. And that's kind of how I describe it for people that don't understand, because they can rationalize the stop sign.
Right. Our daughter died 12 years ago, and she was very saucy and irreverent, and she hasn't changed a bit. So she keeps us in stitches quite often with her comments.
Oh my God. Isn't that funny how they just put out?
Being old folks, we every once in a while we'll get to talking about things, and we were talking about the old Nestle's commercial with Farfel the dog, and E-S-T-L-E-S. And so we're both singing this together, and Summer's just rolling her eyes. Our daughter just rolling her eyes, and Mom, Dad.
And it's like, stop already. Oh yeah. And it's interesting because I think your vision's a lot like mine with it's that knowing, my kids though, they actually see the apparition, especially my son. He's in the military, so he doesn't talk much about it. He's just about Christ conscious age. He's 32. And he physically sees them, and my daughter does as well. And it's like he was at my daughter's and she had a negative energy, negative entity at her house. I could hear them. I could literally hear footsteps on the floor, and I thought it was her wearing boots one day. And then I go to the other room, the sunroom, and I hear "get out," and I'm like, "Oh, gone." And it was internal, I heard it, but I heard it. And my son was there visiting, him and his wife, and he went to get something to drink out of the fridge, and he closed it, and there was somebody standing there, and he just was like, just gone, and they literally were physically there. And he just grabbed his wife, "We got to go." And they both used to see it, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But he's been, since a little boy, he's been able to see him, but he don't talk to him. He just kind of shuts it down. And then you have another gal that's like your daughter. You call her your daughter. I met her at Rasani Fair, probably 2 or 3 years ago now. It's got to be 3.
Yeah. She's daughter of my heart also. Yeah.
Yes. And is it Carrie?
Is Cherie.
Cherie. I met her and I absolutely loved her, by the way. We had a great visit and conversation and traded there at the fair. You were doing something with some other clients and we had a great time. It was funny though, but she had talked about that particular son, and she says, he's going to have a daughter, which they have a 2-year-old daughter now. Yeah. So it's been several years. Good. Oh yeah. And I always knew we were having a girl too first. So when they said it was a girl, I'm like, of course it is, But the interesting thing was I told my son what Sheree had said. And he says that she was his sister in a past life. And they were very close, and that his wife is jealous, which absolutely that child is wrapped around his finger, Beautiful little girl. And she is very gifted as a medium already at her little age of 2. She's a little gifted psychic, I guess, whatever you want to call her, intuitive. Yeah. And but the funny thing is, I recently did a past life and in between life with Rob Schwartz. It was a group session. And in that lifetime that I went to, my son, daughter-in-law, and his daughter, all 3 were there. And in that lifetime, I was a man. My son and his daughter were siblings. They're very close, but my son was married to the same woman that he's married to in this lifetime. And they met in the 4th grade and have been inseparable since they met in the 4th grade. Yeah. So, and it's just kind of funny, but Holly is the granddaughter. And it's funny. She, my grandmother would have been 97 this year on her birthday. And my little granddaughter, my grandma loved birthday parties. My 2-year-old granddaughter would start singing happy birthday, just up, singing the song, looking up in the sky, and made her mother go get pizza, cake, and ice cream and balloons. And my daughter-in-law, didn't understand. And so I posted, "Oh, it's grandma's 97th birthday." So she calls me and says, "Oh my God, Holly has been singing happy birthday all day." And as 2-year-olds, as you know, they forget in 2 seconds. Yeah. Right. So she gets her in the car seat. They get to the store, and then she's like, mommy cake, boons. And she's like, I can't believe she remembered cake. This kid got an attention span this big, But Holly kept remembering the whole time. And once she bought it, once they had the party, she was fine. Didn't bring it up again. And I said, oh, that would definitely be my grandmother, because she loved pizza at the birthday parties. Got to have cake, ice cream, and pizza. Right. So I just thought it was funny that, at 2 years old, here's, the granddaughter. And the gift of that is that both her parents are open to not quashing or squishing her abilities and her gifts. They're going to let her be who she is and not try to control that and turn it off.
One of my dreams since my awakening was to, and I don't know that it'll occur in this lifetime, but was to open a school for children where they were encouraged. If Johnny falls down and skins his knee, Mary and Billy, would you go heal his knee for him? And where they grow up knowing that this is what they can do. This will undo so much damage that religion has done.
Yes. And it's amazing. I meet people of different religion that they used to think what I do is evil or what have you. And I know you get that all the time too, but they're more open. It's like the religion has done so much damage to people, and it's sad. It's really sad. People go, oh, you should go to church. And I'm like, no, I'm Christ conscious. He lives within each one of us. We're
Yeah.
all from the infinite light. So no, I'm good. I have had to go recently to a church, and as soon as they said, we're a revivalist church, I went, oh God. I was like, oh God, and they were doing their talk, and they kept, amen, hallelujah, amen, hallelujah. And I'm like, huh. And of course, the person with me on the way home well, they're just wanting you to agree. I said, I know, and I don't agree. But you believe in God and you're very spiritual. Yes, I am. I do believe in God, and yes, I am. I'm very spiritual. However, that is not God's message. God doesn't condemn. He loves everybody. Well, what about murderers and rapists? I said, well, he holds them in compassion. This I know. Well, why would he do that? He has to punish them. I said, no, that was their experience.
That's what karma's about.
That's exactly what karma's about, and I said, no, I don't think they're going to come back in the physical form for many, many lifetimes, for some of their actions. But no, there is that karma. When you bring that up, there was a gentleman I interviewed a week or two ago, and in his past life and who he is in this life, he had the OBE, like I think I shared with you the past life, and it was very interesting, very telling after, But yeah, I think you're right. Karma, and it's that balance is what he's here in this life to do, is to balance
karma is never ever punishment. It's only balance.
No, it's balance.
And basically the things that you've done to others, you come into another lifetime and you experience those things so you can see what it's like. I can hardly wait to see what Donald Trump's karma is going to be.
Can't wait to see what every politician's karma is going to be, honestly.
But regarding religion, in one, ever since I met with Christ, when I died, we've stayed in touch. And I asked him about religion once, and he says, religion is man's manipulation of man in the name of God. Spirituality is each soul's recognition of their oneness with that God.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
And it comes from a pretty good source.
Yeah, it came from a great source.
He also says, I asked him about crucifixes. He says, what is this? I never asked anybody to worship a dead man on a stick.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, and then I have I'll have to show you after. So, okay. I know with time, I want to honor your time, and I want to thank you so, so much for your, just everything that you do, not just for me, but for everyone that has the privilege and honor to cross your path in this lifetime, even if it's for a moment of hello, just for that soul to soul connection or that amazing healing you do.
Well,
so thank you for your time.
I'm a mirror. I'm just showing you who you are.
That I don't like some days. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. Thank you very much.